yeah. Oh my goodness. It is a beautiful, beautiful day today. Oh my goodness. Hello, good people. Mark Holmes here, of course, with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo. And as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. So we are here at the Red Brick House, working, getting things done, and of course, getting ready to go back home tomorrow, where we get ready to take on the Carolina Panthers. Sad news here with the Joe Boo Sports family that this will be the last game that our buddy Daniel Hernandez, he will be moving with his family out of town, and we won't be having him anymore. So we got to make sure we get a big win, Dallas Cowboys. I wanted to be there at the Carolina Panthers game, but logistically, right now, with everything that we've got going on with the Red Brick House, this has been a labor of love, and it's just too much to be able to take the time and the money to go ahead and travel all the way to Carolina to do that tailgate. I wanted to do it so much. I know so many of you have expressed the wanting to meet me and hang out with me and eat some Joe Boo wings. I just won't be able to do that, at least not right now. But we're looking now that the season is really getting deep. I hated the idea of having to play the Commanders again, the last game of the season. But maybe what we'll do is we'll end up doing like we've always done, a big tailgate at a FedEx Field, even though it is an ass stadium. But it may be actually an important game for us. So maybe we'll go ahead and do that. It's a little easier logistically to do that because it's local. It's only, 30-minute drive as opposed to 6 hours and taking all the stuff down. So forgive me, everybody. I hope you understand where we are. So we have some breaking news this morning, and it really kind of strikes a nerve here. The NFL is investigating why the Bengals did not list quarterback Joe Burrow on their injury report when the team posted a picture of him wearing a device on his wrist Wednesday night, and appears to be hampered by the injury early in Thursday night's game that he later left, the league sources confirmed. The initial picture of Burrow wearing a device that looks like a soft cast on his thumb was posted by the Bengals, only to be deleted later. The NFL routinely looks into the matters of compliance with the injury report policy. They do and will do so in this instance as well. Teams can be fined or even potentially lose a draft pick. Okay, so let's back up here. The reason why I bring this up is, one, it's really important because right now the Bengals at 5-5 could be one of those teams. Here's the thing that always happens that the talking heads ever think about when they go through and they do their preseason polls and everything else. They look at teams that were playoff teams last year and they automatically think they're going to be good this year. Well, what happens is half of the teams that made the playoffs last year typically won't make it next. And right now the Bengals have the toughest schedule left in the NFL. And if Joe Burrow's wrist, the way he couldn't even hold onto the ball, if he's lost for any length of time, you got to figure that their season is done. And that opens up the door for other teams like, say, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Cleveland Browns and things, because that's one team less. In fact, you look around the AFC, Kansas City is the best team that's there, but you can't honestly look and say that they're juggernauts at the moment. Pat Mahomes, believe it or not, Dak Prescott's numbers are slightly better in some areas than Pat Mahomes, and they have the same amount of touchdown passes, but Dak's actually rushed for 2 touchdowns more than Pat Mahomes. Their defense has actually done a lot to help Kansas City, and hopefully they go to 8-2 against the Eagles this weekend. But the reason I really bring this up is that's the rule, and I've been asking for several weeks now. Clearly, the Eagles have talked about Jalen Hurts being injured, because we heard, when that first game, and it was funny because I sat there and I said early in the first quarter, I can't remember which game it was, with Game Time, I said, there's something wrong with Jalen Hurts' knee. I could just tell, having the 5 knee operations and stuff, I understand knees and pain and when there's something that's not quite right. And it turned out by halftime he was wearing a knee brace. and you could see that he was gimpy. They talked about it in practice press conference. Nick Sirianni said he heard it in the game. Jalen Hurts said he heard it like a month before. And then we heard it's a bone bruise, right? And it seems like it's been getting progressively worse. Before the bye week for them, you could physically see him getting up gimpy and unable to run. So it's assumed that, or we've all seen that there's something going on with his leg. But interestingly enough, it's never been put on the injury report. Not once. Not once. Now, I get it. Joe Burrow had a soft cast on his hand going in there. So, technically he could have hurt it, yesterday. He could have slipped on the floor and caught his hand or something. But we've seen week after week after week after week, the Eagles, and maybe this is a case where the Eagles are the NFL's new darling and they want them to succeed, because here you go with a lot of these calls that seemingly have been going always for the Eagles and never against them. And this is a case where how can you investigate Joe Burrow's hand and not investigate why the Eagles haven't listed Jalen Hurts for multiple weeks on the injury report? Just saying. Just saying. I'm asking for a friend. All right, so the Cowboys, we've heard that the Cowboys, Peyton Hendershot, his window is open, but he will not be playing this weekend. There was hopes that he might get out on the field, but they're just going to hold him off for now. But beyond that, we have Turpentine is going to be ready to be playing this weekend. And so at the moment, knock on wood, the Dallas Cowboys have everybody healthy. And the amazing thing is, Tyron Smith, who is a regular on the injury report, although he is getting paid per game basically right now, isn't at all. And you can actually look at the Cowboys' offensive line. I know it was just the Giants, as everybody say. You can't judge anything because the victory was only the Giants and you blew them out. But you can judge everything in the world for the Eagles that ended up being toe for toe against the Commanders, right? Right? Okay. The offensive line seeming to have gotten themselves much, much better. The left side, when Tyron Smith is healthy, is unbelievable. And you have to look at it and say that Tyler Smith is definitely the real deal at guard. I almost hate the thought of him moving to tackle. If you can keep him playing the way he is and maybe get Biotish to just step up just a little, the center of that line is going to be hellacious. And you actually saw Terrence Steele moving better. And some of this may be because I've looked at Zach Martin and saying he's kind of gotten beat a couple of times, that maybe part of the problem has been the change in offensive line coach and change in philosophy. We used to be basically we're just going to bowl you over running wise and things. And now you're doing more zone blocking, which is typically is different. Usually you have smaller, quicker offensive linemen that are doing zone blocking more than ground and pound offensive line. So maybe this is still part of the learning curve of the Cowboys getting themselves together. But you feel like the trajectory of the Cowboys offense is definitely trending up. So, and this is where you also realize that I believe that the effect that Micah Parsons had on talking about putting people on blast about the Cowboys and things has actually had an effect on how they cover and trash the Cowboys, because now you just look like an idiot. Now, it's funny because we all know that they've been idiots, but now when Micah Parsons does and people start looking at it, it's kind of like, maybe we need to stop using Dak as a punching bag. We talked about his interceptions and we followed every interception in practice that he had in training camp and stuff. And right now, you got egg on your face. And so you're not getting quite as many shows trashing the Cowboys in every move they make. In fact, it's hard for me to even find any. But this was yesterday morning before the game when they were talking about the Bengals season. And unfortunately, I think the Bengals season may be done.
The first thing you said to me, if the Bengals lose tonight, what is the first thing you said to me?
I think it's over for them. They've run out of time. The Bengals have run out of runway as far as trying to contend and make the playoffs in the AFC. You're talking about a Bengals team, they're 1-4 in the AFC already, 2 divisional losses. You lose tonight to a divisional opponent in the Baltimore Ravens, they're done to me.
Is it a wrap for Burrow if he doesn't find a way tonight?
I'm not there. I kind of felt coming out of the bye, if they got to 5-3, that they would get in. I did not expect a loss last week. For me tonight is how good are you, Baltimore? Because I said this a couple weeks ago. The defense was really impressive. They had not played an elite quarterback, one of those 5 or 6 guys that we know is a difference maker in the NFL. Last week, Deshaun Watson in the second half was 14 of 14 against them with a broken shoulder. Okay, so how good is this defense playing without Marlon Humphrey tonight? It feels like must-win for Cincinnati, and all I know is this. When it feels that way, and they got Joe Burrow, and they got Jamar Chase, I bet on them. I bet on them. Everything tells me Baltimore wins this game. I can't turn away from Joe Burrow tonight.
Baltimore is like the Cincy Slayers. Like
they always.
They like Cincy Slayers. They own the Cincinnati Bengals.
Exactly. And that's what everything says.
So something's going to have to break tonight. That's all I want to say.
But this defense hasn't seen Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
Not a healthy Joe Burrow this year. This defense hasn't seen him.
Baltimore made that a tough
And you didn't
game
last
on the
night.
road in the playoffs last year without Lamar Jackson, if you'll recall that first-round game. Harry, give me a quick take here. How do you see it? We got one side saying Cincinnati needs it. We got another side saying step up Baltimore. To you, what's the headline going into tonight's showdown?
I'm going to Baltimore Ravens, and I think the reason why is that when you look at Cincinnati, they're going to be without T. Higgins. We've seen what that looked like. Also, they're going to be without Sam Hubbard. That's a huge loss defensively, and that's a huge loss offensively. I believe in Lamar Jackson. I think he's going to be able to get it done. What bothers me about Baltimore is being able to close out football games. And it's not just 2023. You talk about 4 games last year, and I got them listed right here. The Bills, they were up 17 points in that game, and they lost it. Last year against the Miami Dolphins, they were up 14 points in the fourth quarter.
Right.
They ended up losing that game. Against the New York Giants, they were up 10 points in the fourth quarter. They lost that one. And then lastly, versus the Jacksonville Jaguars a season ago, they were up 9 points in the fourth quarter and ended up losing that matchup. So it's not just 2023, this team not being able to finish games. It dates back to 2 years. And then if we want to take it 3 years, they have 11 games in which they led in the fourth quarter and they did not win. That's the most in the National Football League.
Well, and they've won. They've been in the lead and going to the fourth quarter in all 10 of their games this year, and they've lost 3 of them. Is that about their defense, or is it about their quarterback?
I think it's a combination of everything. I think it's Lamar Jackson. I think it's mistakes here. I also believe it is the defense giving up explosive plays. So
the defense gives up explosive plays at an alarming rate in the fourth quarter. An alarming rate.
Meaning?
So if you look at this defense this year, in the first 3 quarters, they've given up like 10 explosive pass plays. That's 20 yards or more. In the fourth quarter, they've given up 13. And then there are 3 losses. There's
in other words, they're
Michael
ass.
Pittman Jr. in Indy. There's this one to George Pickens in Pittsburgh. There were 3 last week to Cleveland and Amari Cooper, again, with a guy with a broken shoulder. So we could sit here all we want to say, Lamar Jackson. This defense has got to step up late in games.
And the sad thing about last week, the Cleveland Browns got the ball with 4 minutes and 55 seconds left to go in the game.
Yeah.
Right down the field.
The Baltimore Ravens never seen the ball again. They never seen the football again.
So that's you set up the stakes, and you set up what's at stake here for both these teams and the fascinating dynamics of the matchup. But let us all take a moment to step back, and let us all pay homage to the
Dan loves this part.
to the First Lady
He hates me.
of the Church of Get Up.
Getting any shine from
Bishop?
my genius.
No. Just to be clear, I hate when anybody else is right.
Yeah, Bishop, can we take a moment to honor the First
Acknowledge.
Lady? Before this season began, in August, she said all 4 teams in this division are going to make the playoffs, and here we sit with all of them in prime playoff position. So you who sees all,
Yes,
who
that's
do you
why.
trust? It's so hard to trust any team in that. Baltimore keeps giving away leads.
So much for
Cincinnati,
Kimberly
we
Martin
can't
being
take
right
a
on that
chance.
one.
Cleveland has lost their quarterback. The Steelers, I don't know what they're doing, and somehow they're winning.
I
Who do we
wish
trust?
I could pick like Mike Tomlin, the Browns defense,
Right.
like the Ravens. I will say the Ravens. I picked them to actually win the Super Bowl this year preseason. I think the only thing that can stop the Ravens are the Ravens. And you guys have been talking about the late game collapses, and it's the times.
All right, we're going to leave it right there with Kimberly Martin. But it's safe to say that, this NFL season is cray-cray. What team looks good this week can look like ass in 2 weeks. So we'll have to wait and see where we are. But NFL, do your job. Do your job and look into the Eagles and stop playing favoritism to them. I'm Mark Holmes, and as always, you know we appreciate you guys.
I fire Howie. Fucking fire him. Motherfucker! Stupid motherfucker! What an idiot! What an idiot! Dallas has Amari Cooper and Gallup, but we don't need a receiver. Are you kidding me? I don't want Justin Jefferson. He's ass. He's stupid.